So, hello, love. It is said that in terms of communication, 7% of communication is verbal, whereas 38% is the tone of voice that we use. And then 55% is nonverbal communication. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. So we all know right now there's a whole lot of 7% going on in the world, right? A lot of voices, a lot of things being said, a lot of noise, some of which is very well said, very well spoken. And those are the things that I like to listen to, but some things are not. But the non-communication is really key. And I'm just going to tell you three different things that I've experienced, and some of them very recently, from people who have communicated with me in a nonverbal way. And so much is said that way. One time, my husband and I went to Greece. This was, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, I guess. But we went to see Delphi. It was very important for me to go see Delphi, Greece. And so when we first went there, we went into what was the lower part of, would have been part of that whole part of Delphi, which was the Temple of Athena. But in order to get into, see the Temple of Athena and to be part of what was left there and some of what was reconstructed to show us kind of a little bit about the architecture and the beauty of what was created long ago, we had to go through a little gift shop. And there was a man in there who sold all kinds of gift items and those kinds of things. And he was just charming. And he said he didn't speak English very much, and we spoke very little Greek. In fact, we had our Greek and Greek and English dictionary, which we would try to communicate as best we could through the words that we thought we could convey. But what we found out was that so much of what it is, what we said with each other, said to each other, was just through kindness, just through this gentle nature and as who he was. He had a picture of his grandson, we figured out, behind him on the wall, along with other photos and different things that he had there. And I said, I pointed to the picture and I did this and I looked and I pointed to him and did this. And he was very grateful for that because he's very proud of his grandson. And so we bought a few things from him, quite a few things, and then we decided we wanted to have just something to drink. So we had some soft drinks off to the side, little tiny bottles of Coca-Cola, which I remembered when I was a kid, we used to have those here a lot in the States, but they had little tiny bottles there. And so we thought we'd just have a couple of those, and he motioned for us to go out onto the deck where there are some tables and chairs, little metal tables and chairs, and we could see the Temple of Athena off the road above us, but we could see down into the through all of this huge area of beautiful olive trees, just all over, and we could hear the bells of the goats and maybe the sheep that were walking along, and for the different herders that had sheep and goats there. And it was just a beautiful day. And it was probably close to mid-afternoon when we were there. So it was just gorgeous. So we sat there and he came out with the tray and two glasses and the two little Cokes, and he had a towel over his arm and served us. And I was just so charmed by him. I thought he was charming. He was gracious. He was elegant. He was kind. And I will never forget him. I have a photograph of him. I won't show that because I don't have his permission to do that. But he was lovely. And I will always remember him. And so it was pleasant and lovely. And he started out our entire trip to Greece with the time that we spent there because we were in Delphi for, I think, 3 different days. And in the entire time we were in Greece, which we were there for what, 12 different days, and we went to Delphi, we were in Athens, and we were in Santorini. And then we drove all through between Delphi to get to Athens. We drove all along the roads there. And there was only one person the entire time we were there who was unkind. Everyone else was remarkable. Everyone else was just incredible. So that's what you can do with what it is that you experience with people in your lives. And that's what I always look for wherever we go. So, another one of these experiences that I've had where nonverbal communication spoke volumes of language, of words, of heart, soul, was we have next door neighbors who are from another country, and they have one of them has their parents visiting, and they're the parents are taking care of their little daughter who's just not quite a year old. And so the parents walk out into the yard individually at times, and they come out onto the deck, and we sit out on our deck and we have dinner oftentimes, my husband and I do. But they walk out in the backyard, and so I always wave, and they don't speak English, but they try very hard to do so. And they say hello, and I wave and smile, and my husband does the same thing. And so one day they're out on the deck and holding the baby, and the baby's waving like this, and she's just precious. But the man who is the father of our neighbor, and he does this to me, and just and it's just so gracious and so elegant. And so then when his wife was out there in the yard, several days later, I did the same thing, and I just smiled. You're like my heart. I give my heart to you. And so it's just lovely. And she responded in a kind and generous way as well. And so that's two of those situations. But I was also in a situation recently where we were in a restaurant with friends. We're celebrating birthdays of two of our friends, and we were at a round table at this restaurant that we love to go to. And I noticed off to the side that there were some people that were seated at a booth kind of behind me back this way. And I didn't pay any attention. I didn't look at them or anything because I didn't really feel I needed to. But then I noticed some movement on the floor. And I looked down to notice that there were two dogs on the floor. And then I noticed the woman and the man sitting across from her at the table were signing to each other. She was hearing impaired. And so the dogs are service dogs. And so when I went to leave, I went to the restroom because we live a couple hours away from this restaurant. So we're going to need to take a couple hour drive home. So I went to the restroom. And when I came out, I asked her, I just said, would it be okay with you if I pet your dogs? And I pointed to her dogs. And she did this twice and smiled. And she was very kind and kind of nodded her head and did this. And so I later looked up, and this is thank you in sign language that she did with both hands. And so I knelt down onto the floor and petted the dogs. And there was one, and she said, one is 5 years old. And she pointed to the other, and the other one is 1 year old. And so the 1 year old was much smaller than the 5 year old. And I was petting them, and they were so happy to get attention. And then I just knelt in front of her and said, thank you, and smiled. And I think I probably did this. Anyway, then she again did this and smiled. And again, it was lovely. I was blessed by her attentions, by her kindness, by her dogs, by the fact that she extended to me her heart and in a language that is a sign language. So there's so many different ways that we can do this and give eye contact. a kind smile, a gentle nod. And one other thing, I guess I can tell you one more thing that I learned this about one of my dogs who always kind of seemed to be afraid of me somewhat. And I found out from a veterinarian technology, she was a vet tech, and she said, no, you just need to, when you look at him, just do this and kind of close your eyes and bow down because a that's what will give him the permission to be with you. And so I started doing that with him. And from that point forward, we were really connected. So you can do that too. Just kind of nod your head, look down, nod your head. And it's a way of acknowledgement and allowing the other being, animals, cats, dogs, let them know that they matter, that you care for them. And it's just a beautiful way to connect. So those are just some things we can do. And in this world of 7% of communication that's going on with lots of 7%, pay attention to the way that you connect with people, the nonverbal ways in which you might, the tone of your voice, the way that you speak to someone, maybe slow down your speech, maybe listen more often, just be kind. Sometimes that's all it takes to connect. But also know that these nonverbal communications, you know, wow, from my heart to yours, thank you. And just knowing full well that you matter to me. So, as always, I send you lots of love and may you know how very much you matter in the world and that what it is that you do is so very important and that you are magnificent. So, as Grandma always said, love you bunches. Bye for now.